The paddle makes it like ping pong. The ball makes it like the wiffle ball we played in the backyard as kids. The net makes it like tennis. The stroke is tennis, ping pong, and racquetball all wrapped into one. That's the sound of pickleball. Pretty much what you see is what you get. Miniature tennis or badminton with the net lowered. It all started in someone's backyard up in Washington, and it's been the Northwest's best kept secret since, or so say the pickleballers.
When it's going to really take off is when fitness clubs realize that they could have 4 pickleball courts in the area, they have a tennis court, and how popular it would be, and they would attract a lot of customers in their club. It's already taken off at corporations and schools.
Steve Paranto is ranked 5th among the nation's pickleball players. He once was a tennis instructor, but he got a dose of pickleball, and he's never picked up his tennis racket since.
If you're successful at any racket sport at all, you'll enjoy pickleball. But also, people who haven't had success at other racket sports can enjoy pickleball because of the lightweight ball and the lightweight paddle.
And players of all levels will be among the 160 at the Oregon Championships this weekend.
Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to chat with Steve Paranto and find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Remember, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, ding that bell for notifications, and don't forget to visit automathletesndy.com for all of your NDY gear and apparel needs. All right, enough of that. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Why don't you start us off with a little introduction of yourself?
I'm Steve Paranto. I'm 69 years old. I live near Portland, Oregon. I've been playing pickleball now for 51 years. Well, no, my career, I taught elementary physical education for 30 years. I've now been retired, I can't believe it, for 15 years. I was 54 when I retired. And I have a daughter who's 40, lives nearby, and my wonderful girlfriend Lala lives with me here and helps me run everything at the Pickleball Playhouse.
All right, so we're going to talk a lot more about what you're doing right now, but let's get a little history. You mentioned you've been playing pickleball for quite a while, so fill us in on your athletic history from way back when.
Well, if you go way back when I was a little kid, I'm an only child, my dad was my playmate. And my dad was good at all sorts of sports and introduced me, back then you played baseball and basketball and threw the football around. And so all those traditional sports growing up. My dad, and then our family was a big bowling family. So those sports and bowling, and my dad wound up coaching me in everything at that age. He was the little league coach, the neighborhood coach. He was the only dad in the neighborhood who, when he had put a basketball hoop on our dead-end cul-de-sac, and he was out playing with us. I never saw any of the other dads out playing with us, but that was my early years. And then so later on, I just always liked playing sports. Tennis was my high school passion, and which became my collegiate sport. And then I also was a collegiate bowler.
And then when did you get involved with pickleball?
That was my freshman year in college. Green River Community College is where I was playing tennis. And it rains a lot, so we didn't have indoor facilities, but we heard this ball being banged around. I remember this is pretty close to where the sport was invented, like 30 minutes from Bainbridge Island. And so with wooden paddles back in those days on a wood floor, we wound up playing more pickleball than tennis because it rained so much. So I fell in love with the sport. That's 51 years ago as a freshman.
And now you mentioned something to me about you are the longest tournament active player or something like that. Tell me what that is all about.
I've played tournaments since 74. In fact, I have a trophy here in my house from 1975 that says pickleball on it. There's only a couple other people that have trophies that far back in pickleball, and they might be gone. Those trophies might not exist with the other families because they probably died. And one of the kids buzzed, "What's this?" and threw it away. So yeah, I've played every year in tournaments since 74. I've won 5-0. Back in my day, 5-0 was the highest level. 6 different decades, I've now won a 5-0 tournament, including the 2020s.
Maybe fill us in a little bit more detail on what you would consider to be your really highlight achievements, whether it's pickleball or anything else.
This is really what got me in the Hall of Fame was, again, having the dad that I had. Even though I taught my dad how to play pickleball, he invented the first composite pickleball paddle in 1984. So I had the luxury of being the first person to use these. It's Boeing floor paneling. He was a Boeing engineer. He's in the Hall of Fame also for doing that. He was inducted with the inventors, actually. So I had the luxury of having the best paddles in the world in the 80s. And so my partner and I, high school buddy I taught how to play, Richard Skevington, we were winning everything in the mid-80s, including back then, which would have been the U.S. championships. And then much later, now that the sport is, the newer ages, I've won nationals 4 times in the modern era. At age group, make that clear.
Yeah. In what age groups then?
So from the 50s until current, I've won various. I've won World Huntsman Singles Championships 5 times in a row in singles in my 50s, and last time I won nationals was 2 years ago with Bob Deller.
You mentioned the Hall of Fame. Which Hall of Fame is that exactly?
It's the Pickleball Hall of Fame. It's the only Pickleball Hall of Fame. There's only one. That was started in 2017, and it's going strong. And now it's an important Hall of Fame to be in. When I was inducted, people didn't even know there was a Hall of Fame. Now it's getting to be something important and very honorable to be in. And as Hall of Fame members, we have a lot of responsibilities to go to events and do exhibitions and meet and greet and put on clinics.
Now, is there an actual structure of the Hall of Fame, or is it just more of a virtual Hall of Fame?
Currently, at this moment, it's virtual, but it will be a brick and mortar soon. Originally, when it first was formed, we were at Pickleball Central. If you've ever heard about that, that's the biggest catalog pickleball company in the world, and they were in Kent, Washington, near where I learned the sport. And they had the Hall of Fame there initially. But pickleball grew so big, they needed that space. So right now we're virtual, and we will be at a big, important location probably within a year.
Well, we definitely look forward to that. So you're still playing pickleball. It sounds like you run a pickleball establishment. Tell us more about that.
My dream, I've always had outdoor courts at my homes, and it was just for my friends. Let's have fun. And I did wind up coaching. But I always, in the Northwest, again, I'm in Oregon, lots of rain. We needed indoor courts. So I found some property that I could build 2 indoor courts near this house we bought. And I'm coaching a lot here, but more importantly, I'm playing with my friends here and a lot of seniors. And what us seniors love to do, and it's helping the young kids. I get these young kids that are on their way up. I mix them in with us seniors, and they learn the smart stuff from us. Now, the stuff the kids have, the speed, reflexes, foot speed, we don't have that anymore. But we can still beat them until they get as smart as we are. Yeah. Then we don't have a chance. But right now I'm working with this phenom 13-year-old. That's such a nice kid. I've been really fortunate to have some really good kids fall in my lap in the last few years.
So you do the stuff there. I mean, do you have anything online? Do you do something like that? And if so, where could we find you?
Well, I mean, I have instructional pieces through Selkirk. I'm sponsored by Selkirk. Selkirk has an instructional series that's geared for seniors, by the way. The one I do, it was called Senior Success with Steve. You can get that free on the Selkirk app under their instruction page. I have a pickleball podcast geared for seniors called the Pickleball Fountain of Youth, which you can find on YouTube and wherever you find podcasts. And that's a good place for seniors too. Our sport used to be known as the senior sport.
Yeah.
And it's funny how all that happened, because when we started playing in the 70s and 80s, we were all young guys. Right. But then we retired and took it to these senior communities in Arizona and Florida, and it boomed, and it became, hey, that's the sport for old people.
Yeah.
But now you've seen what's happened with professional pickleball. Our number 1 woman in the world is 18. She's been number 1 since she was 13. Yeah. The number 1 man in the world is 25. And, there's a string of unbelievable 18-year-olds on tour now. So it's no longer the senior sport. I
Yeah.
mean, it's for enjoyment, but not for professional play.
So what do you think about the transition in this kind of boom and movement to the younger generation? I mean, just what do you think about just the different style of play and things like that? Just kind of in general, what are your thoughts on how the game is transformed?
I love it. This is what I've wanted. This is what I wanted people to respect our sport. It's hard for people to respect a sport where the best players of the world are in their 60s
Yeah.
because uh, this is an athletic game we're playing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see Larry Bird competing on the NBA basketball floor with current NBA players.
Right.
Now you might see a Larry Bird age pickleball player competing and having lots of fun with young players. That's great, but not competing well against the best in the world.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But no, I love what they brought to the game. I mean, they brought reflexes that are outrageous, foot speed that's outrageous, jumping ability, athleticism. It's so fun to see the athleticism that's happened because of it.
How about your transition going from, like you said, wooden paddles to now these, new rackets that are out or paddles that are out there? How have you transitioned? How has it changed your game? Even though you've gotten older, have this equipment help you to, maintain that youth a little, or just tell us kind of your thoughts on that?
I've had to greatly change how I play the game, shot selection when I'm playing against younger kids. The technology of the paddles has allowed so much more spin, which allows more athleticism because they're hitting aggressive dinks now, which means in order to hit an aggressive dink, the ball has to fall so you can top spin it. Yeah. And so they have to move off the line, move to the line, move off the line, move to the line. Well, seniors really can't play that way. Yeah. And so we have to play a different style game. When I'm playing with the young kids, and tonight I'm coaching three are coming here, three of the best Oregon young players, because tomorrow we're competing in an Oregon Team Cup. This is our big annual thing, and I'm coaching one of the teams. I'm going to be one of the players tonight because we're short a player, so it's me. And I'll tell you right away what I'm going to tell my partners. When a lob goes up, it's yours. You're going to hear me go, yours, because those kids are going to run it down. Yeah. They're going to take more of the court than I am, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah. Now, if I'm playing senior play, people my age reverse that. I'm fast for someone 69 years old. So I'm going to say mine, and I'm going to run and get that, and I'm going to take more court. So you have to turn that switch in your head depending on who you're playing with and who you're playing against.
Sure.
Can hardly throw up a lob against the young athletic kids. Yeah. One of the kids coming here tonight, I say kids, he's probably in his 30s. He played tennis for the Ducks, starred for the Oregon Ducks, and he's about 6'3". Yeah. So my chances of lobbing him tonight are going to be that'd be probably a poor shot selection.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about, athleticism. So at 69, what do you do for training to keep yourself fit on the court? Is it all just constant playing, or do you do some cross training, weight training? What is it you do to keep yourself as fit as possible?
Well, first, I am guilty of playing so much pickleball that I could get by with just playing pickleball. But to prevent injuries and to try to have that little edge, I do stretching every night. And I do that in a hot tub. That's my relax. I got my body core temperature up, and I have a routine of stretches I do. So that's when I'm done for the day. Now, when I'm on the court tonight, I'll be doing dynamic types movements that I'm going to be using in the game, and just kind of make sure that I've gone through those. I do light weights, very light weights.
Do you just do those at like at your house there in your facility?
Yeah, at my house. I don't go to a gym. Really, you can get all the workout you need with very light weights, elastic bands, and a chair.
Yeah.
Using your own body weight for planks, for push-ups, for chair. I mean, I really just don't even have time to go to a club to work out because I'm too busy playing and teaching, and I just try to fit in the workouts that I have, but usually before I play.
So how about like diet and nutrition? Do you eat any specific way or just kind of eat healthy or what do you do there?
I try to eat very little meat, red meat. I do some chicken and fish. I'm a fisherman, so when I just caught three really nice salmon with two of my buddies. One's a pickleball buddy on the Columbia River about 2 weeks ago. So love salmon. Try to eat try to eat my veggies and fruits, and I am I am guilty of eating too much sugar. If there's a bag of M&M peanuts in front of me, I'm probably eating those. So I have to be careful with that. I am limiting my. I was a real beer. I still enjoy beer, but lately I've been doing a lot more non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
I think as I get older, my body doesn't metabolize the alcohol as well.
Yeah.
We constantly, when we had practice, I usually had a beer
Yeah.
while we were playing. I'm not doing that now. I asked my doctor a couple weeks ago how much beer is good for me, and he said none. He said you can have a cup, you can have one every now and then, have some fun. You're almost 70, have some fun, but none is good for you. I used to think, a couple beers, that's probably good for you. Glass of wine, good for you. The latest studies say, no, that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish it was true. I got to find the study that says 3 beers is good for me a day, but
That would be a lot of us would like to hear that one.
right. I've hardly had any injuries in my life, and I think a lot of that has to do with genetics. I'm very thin. So I'm 5'11", 145 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, in my younger days, I was 160 because I've lost muscle mass. For sure. But staying light, I think, has helped. My knees and hips are fine. A lot of my friends are on their second hip or knee, and luckily we have that surgery because that's keeping people out there playing a lot longer.
You mentioned some of your highlights before, but you didn't mention your bowling highlights, which you have a couple of good ones. So real quick, I want to kind of revisit that a little bit. Tell us a little bit, because you are a multi-sport athlete. So tell us a little bit about your bowling highlights.
Well, my highlights, I have 7 300 games in competition, but I also have 3 800 series. So that's actually statistically about 10 times harder than a 300. So that's 3 games in competition that add up to 800.
Yeah.
And I had an 837 around 2001. And at the time, that was the record at the house I bowled at for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
But bowling has changed since then. Now used to be a stroker game, real smooth. Now it's a muscle man game. They're throwing a few hands. It's that skill set I don't have.
Yeah.
So I would have if I lived in a community that oiled lanes for seniors,
Yeah.
like they do in Florida or Arizona,
Yeah.
then I would do well again. But
Yeah.
the bowling alley, my last bowling alley was geared for the young kids, and it takes a lot of power to get through the dry boards. Only bowlers know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my first 300 was in front of Earl Anthony, the legend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
He lived in my town, and he was sitting back smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, just him and me, because it was summertime. I was a school teacher, and I was so nervous to throw a bowl. I told my buddy, this is like batting in front of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I'm bowling in front of her, and I got a strike, and I go, phew. Then I got another one, then another one, and then halfway through, I told my buddy, if I get a 300, Earl's signing this. And I did. I got a 3, and I have it up in my playhouse. I got it framed.
Wow.
And then the next week later, I was invited to go golfing with him, and he was a scratch golfer. So that was really fun.
Wow. So anybody, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Miller Open, bowling was everything in the 70s and 80s. So, I used to imitate Earl Anthony all the time. Mark Roth was one of my favorites. So that era of bowling was just amazing. So
that was my era. I used to bowl pro-ams, and bowl with Pete Weber and, those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was cool. So another thing you mentioned that you do is the fishing. So that's definitely an activity, and certainly as a 69-year-old, and you're pulling salmon in, which are good sized fish. So, maybe just tell us a little bit more about your fishing experience and what you do there.
So I have another getaway that's about an hour from here. It's on the Columbia River. It's a floating home. So it's has a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and my fishing boat's parked in my house. So we can just jump in the boat and go. I don't have to have a trailer or anything. So it's real easy, and really close to my house is great salmon fishing. Sturgeon, if you talk about winding in a heavy fish, I mean, you catch 6-foot sturgeon that you're fighting for an hour.
Wow.
It's catch and release. You can't keep them. There's only a very few times of the year can you keep a sturgeon. But I grew up fishing. It was another one of those hobbies that my dad and I shared was fishing. We lived on a lake, actually, and we did a lot of lake fishing. So I'm learning all over again how to fish in the big river.
All right, we're going to kind of go back to pickleball a little bit. I guess since you are a coach, you've been doing it longer than anybody I think I'll ever talk to, probably. I think it's safe to say that. So, if you have maybe a piece of advice let's start with the seniors. Like, I want to get started in this game, or maybe I'm just getting started and I need to improve just a little bit to have a little bit more fun at it. What piece of advice or two would you give folks?
Right off the bat, I would find a good instructor, because I see, also teach at another club, Rex, great, our first indoor club in this area. And I see people constantly they're having fun, no doubt, but they're not improving. Yeah. And they're not holding the paddle the way I'd like them to hold their paddle. They're not swinging the paddle the way I'd like them to swing their paddle. Their shot selection. So I would definitely find a good coach. You're going to not waste so much time. Almost every time I give someone a lesson that's like banging their head, staying at the same 3-5 level or whatever forever, then they take a lesson and they go, oh man, I wish I would have done this earlier, because then they get better quicker. Yeah. That's probably the biggest word of advice is I just hate to see people hold the paddle wrong, take huge swings, use their body wrong. I mean, there's more chance of getting hurt hitting the ball incorrectly, moving inefficiently. Let's move efficiently. The way I have my seniors play, they could play for 3-4 hours of doubles and still have energy. Yeah. You could move at a very inefficient way with poor shot selection and not be able to play for an hour.
What are your thoughts on, getting ready for play? And you talked a little bit about your own dynamic warm-ups and things. Do you teach routines? What are your thoughts there? Because I know I see a lot of seniors at my local Y, and they ask me things about pickleball, and the first thing I say is, well, go warm up and be ready to move, because they don't do that at all. So what are your thoughts on that, or suggestions?
Yeah, so, the modern day way of warming up isn't the way to warm up that we were taught when we were kids. So when we were kids, you might remember the calisthenic ballistic bouncing. Yeah. Everything was, bouncing, touching, everything bouncing, ballistic. Yeah. Which was proven not to really increase flexibility. So then we went to static, holding a stretch. Yeah. Good, better. But you need to be warmed up before you do that. So whatever you do, let's break a sweat. Let's get our core temperature up and imitate on the court some of the movements that you're actually going to do in real life on the court. Just don't do them at that full explosive speed. So try to imitate some shuffling, some backward movement, some walking on your heels to stretch your Achilles. The worst thing is when you snap your Achilles. I've seen it about 4 times where I've been on the court and people think someone just shot them. Yeah. And that's a healing process, is a long time for that one. So that's all the classes we teach, the intro classes. I have a dynamic warm up we do before we start.
Okay, let's switch to any young folks that might be watching this. Do you have any different thoughts as far as, maybe that college tennis player like you, or maybe just a high school kid or something that's looking for a sport other than, football or basketball? What are your maybe suggestions on how to get going there, and what's the best avenue to go?
Well, again, find some good instruction for sure. But since they're kids like to be around other kids. So I love to introduce kids to other kids. Yeah. So they got drill partners. Yeah. Drilling and playing, the kids playing skinny singles where they're playing against each other, just using half the court, improves their skills so fast. 2 of the kids that are coming over here tonight, that's how they spend their time drilling when they were 15, 16. One of them's my next door neighbor. He has an indoor court too. I don't get, they're off to college now. So that's why I have to find this new crew of young kids right now, because my two kids that I've been real close to are off to college now. But finding other kids that enjoy playing the game, because that's fun for them.
All right, so just got to ask you. So, who's your favorite professional pickleball player? Who are you rooting for, both on the men's side and the women's side?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So, if you would have asked me that 2 years ago, I would have been able to name a whole bunch of guys on the tour that are personal friends of mine who I've been on the court with.
Okay.
That's all changed now. So now when I'm watching pro pickleball, there's a good chance I've never even met these kids. I root for Zane Navratil because we both were Onyx players when he was freshly signed. I love the podcasts that he runs. He's very knowledgeable. I like to root for him. There's a new young kid, Wilsey, that I did play with and coach when he was about 9 or 10, who's like an 18-year-old now. That's an up-and-coming player. Right now, the Vietnamese Cup. Vietnamese Cup is going on, and there's a girl named Nicola from Australia, and my buddy Wes Gabrielson, who I coaches her, and he brought her here last year. So right now I'm rooting for her. She took second last week in the Malaysian tournament and having a big upset over Anna Bright. If you know who Anna Bright's, like number 2 in the world. And so anybody that that's been to the Playhouse here, or friends of mine, I always root for them.
You're playing tons of pickleball, keeping healthy, keeping your weight under control, all these things going on, working with others to help them. If you could bottle a secret sauce to your kind of overall health and fitness and just where you are in life, what would the ingredients to that recipe be?
Oh, I think that the secret sauce is to just never stop moving. I was a PE teacher for 30 years, and I was one of those unusual, it really wasn't standard for PE teachers always to be fit and do everything with their kids. So I did workouts with every class. I taught 10 classes a day because elementary PE, you have 30-minute classes. Well, I wanted to be a role model for my kids. So I wasn't that guy who said, go run laps. I was running with them. Because of that, I was active all that 30 years, and I've never stopped. So when my education stopped as being a public education teacher, pickleball really took over. And so I've just never stopped.
Thanks, Steve, for joining us today to let us know what makes you an automathlete that's not done yet. I want to close up here by giving you the floor to just give us some final thoughts.
Seniors that are watching this and you're athletic, especially if you are coming from a sport where you were tracking a ball, you're going to be pretty good at pickleball right away. So the baseball players, the volleyball players, the tennis players, the table tennis players, right away you have a head start. But even if you're somebody who maybe you're a track star, it's funny, but soccer players, because of footwork, so many athletes are finding, and pro golfers are loving this sport, and they don't usually run for a ball and hit it, right? It's sitting stationary. Celebrities are loving our game. So I would say give this sport a try. You might just get addicted.
Well, there you go, folks. Steve Paranto. He is definitely an automathlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.